Yo, what's up, guys? It's Will. Just a heads up, my iPhone battery might die. So, you know, or no, sorry, not the battery, the storage. I might run out of iPhone storage. So this video might just cut short, but I'm just gonna keep recording. Well, however long I feel like, or until the iPhone just runs out of storage. So anyways, I'm like 2 hours from LA, as you can see. I was listening to Drake's new album, but I mean, actually, I guess it's not that new. But I listened to it when it first came out, and for the most part, I didn't really like it. And I just tried listening to it again, and I still don't like it that much. There's a few good songs. I think like Fair Trade is pretty good, obviously. TSU is pretty good. But that might be it. That might be like the only two songs I like on this thing. Like, let me see. Yeah, that's basically it. Those are like the only two songs I like. The rest of the album is just like weird to me. I don't know. It just doesn't vibe to me at all. But yeah, so I'm like 2 hours from LA. As you can see, 2 hours. I'm just driving down the 5, you know, just hanging out. Beautiful California night here. Sun's about to go down. And, you know, I'm just cruising. Let's play some Sign Rider while we're cruising along here. Why not? If I can get this to there she is. I guess my internet might be not good right now. Could also just be the this interface just isn't like, it's not ideal. As I said in one of my previous videos. But yeah, so some birds and some other stuff. That's a nice shot right there. Really cool colors right now. But yeah, I'm pretty exhausted. I've been driving all day today. I pretty much drove all day yesterday. And I'm just freaking exhausted. Just very, very tired. I can't wait to get on my bike tomorrow. That's gonna be fun. But yeah, so I don't even know why I turned the camera on. Like, is there anything I want to say right now, or is this just totally random? I mean, I guess I kind of just want to capture the scenery. This is California. This is Southern California, just north of LA. I think I'm like kind of close to Bakersfield. Let's see. Bakersfield is just like a little bit ahead of me. We're in kind of like the flats right now, but we're gonna get to the mountains pretty soon. Like once we pass Bakersfield, stuff starts to get mountainous. I'm definitely just taking my time. Like I'm going, you know, I've been going like 60 to 65 most of the day today. Just, you know, just relaxing, just taking it slow, letting the auto steer do most of the work, and just trying to stay energetic. I'm not like, I probably could be doing something a little bit more interesting than just sitting here recording a video. But there's a junkyard out there. Was that a junkyard, or was that like a repair shop or something? I don't know. But yeah, I could be listening to like an audiobook or something. Maybe I should be listening to an audiobook or something. I'm just so tired. Like, I'm kind of tired of consuming stuff. I know it's kind of weird because like I'm creating content that's meant to be consumed. But I don't know. Yeah, I'm just like, I'm kind of tired of consuming other people's expressions, you know. And it's not anything personal. It's just like, I've listened to so many podcasts. I've listened to so many albums. I've listened to so many audiobooks. I've read so many books. I've read so many articles. I've just consumed so much media. And I feel like now is the time to start like creating media for other people to consume, you know? There's something like that, I guess. I don't know. I'm just tired of consuming stuff. But like, I don't really know what else to do. Like, the world is just so silent when you're not, when your brain isn't like doing stuff. I mean, it's cool too because it's beautiful. Like, you don't really need much commentary on these landscapes. they're just unreal. But you know, language is fun too, and like expressing ideas via language is like a fun thing to do. Keeps the mind active. So I guess like I don't want to stop my mind. You know, I don't want to enter like the no thought mode because that doesn't really interest me that much. But I also kind of want to like detox on like everyone else's ideas and just start like expressing my own ideas. I mean, I'll still take inspiration from other people. It's just more of like a balance thing. You know, I've been consuming so much. I've just consumed so much, you know. So yeah, and I don't really expect anyone to consume this. Consume is a weird word, like eating my videos. Yeah, I mean, I don't really expect anyone to watch this bullshit because it's just so random, you know. But this is life. This is my life. This is what I see. What you're seeing on this video is what I see, pretty much. Thanks to the miracle of technology, the internet, and incredible cameras. The fact that I just have this like amazing camera in my pocket is pretty. It's pretty incredible. It's pretty freaking incredible. I mean, this car is just unreal. Like, this car is just freaking unreal, you know? This phone is unreal. I think I mentioned this in one of my previous videos, but I just got a MacBook. I just ordered the new MacBook. It has been many years since I have felt impressed by a computer. You know, like when I was younger, I remember getting some computers and I was like, damn, these computers are really cool. But lately, I feel like computers, like, they get so hyped up and then they're just like, I'm just gonna let this guy in. They get so hyped up and then they're just like for example, I don't want to shit on this company, but I feel like I kind of have to if I'm gonna tell the truth. About like a year and a half ago, I bought a Razer laptop, Razer Blade, and that thing, like, I don't know, it's just not that good. Like, its stats look pretty good, but it just doesn't perform that well. I don't know what else to say. That's all I can really say about it. It's just, it doesn't perform that well. So, you know, I don't know. past this guy. That was an interesting license plate. I couldn't catch the state though. I don't know what state that was. Yeah. I think that truck's a Covenant Transport. That's interesting. Ooh, this is a cool landscape. This is a cool landscape. I feel like I was saying something and I forgot what the topic was. I passed this guy also. It's beautiful. Beautiful California. I definitely miss this place a lot. I really miss this place. People drive fast here. People drive really fast in Cali. I mean, I like it, but now that I have a Tesla, it actually makes more sense to drive slower. That's one of the coolest things about Teslas is like having a Tesla has literally made me a more chill person, which is kind of crazy because like I was already pretty chill, but now I'm even more chill because I have a Tesla. Because it encourages me to drive slower. Like you save energy when you drive slower, and it's just safer when you're on autopilot. You know, it gives the car like a safer feeling when it's driving itself. You know. Oh yeah, I was talking about laptops. Yeah, it's no offense to Razer. Like I think Razer is a fine company. It's just I got their Razer Blade and it was like I spent $2,000 on this. You know, it was a $2,000 17-inch gaming laptop, and like my 13-inch MacBook is almost as good, and my 13-inch MacBook was like $1,300, so almost half the price. So it's just, I don't know. So I recently ordered a 16-inch MacBook Pro with the M1 Max chip and 64 gigs of RAM. And I think it has like 32 gigs GPU or something. So it's a pretty beastly machine. But you know, that's what I thought about the Razer, and then I got the Razer and I was like, the fuck? So I'm hoping that this is like finally a computer that I can get and be like, holy shit, this is a level up. This is like the next level of speed. That's what I'm really hoping for. If not, I'm probably just gonna give up on laptops entirely. I just can't. If this laptop is underwhelming, and I think I spent like $3,500 on it, so like this is a very expensive laptop. If this laptop isn't impressive, I'm just giving up on laptops. I'm just gonna rethink my entire life because I don't know. It's been so long since I've like had a computer and been like, wow, this is good. Actually, I think the last computer that I was genuinely impressed with was like way back in like 2008. I had this like HP desktop, and that was pretty fast, that computer. I really liked that computer. I think in some ways desktops are just better, I guess. Well, that's kind of obvious. Everyone knows that. Because you just have more space. You can put more GPUs, you can put more CPUs. So if this laptop is unimpressive, I'll probably just be like, all right, I'm just gonna stick with desktops for most of my work, and you know. But I have like people have been telling me really good things about it, so I have a feeling I'm gonna be like, pretty impressed with it. So yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I love the angles on this car too, like they just look so sleek. And I love this like wood finish. It's really nice. This is a great car. Highly recommend. Highly recommend the Tesla Model Y. Model 3s are great too. Holy shit, I'm so tired. I'm just like so ridiculously tired right now. Again, not too tired that I can't drive, but just tired enough to warrant an expression of the tiredness. See what my energy's doing. I try to keep an eye on this just to... Whoa, it says 100. Wow, okay. So I should maybe like slow down a little bit. I might be going a little too fast. I haven't really like experimented with oops. I haven't really like done enough exploring of this car. Why is it like getting all, why is it freaking out? Is it because I'm using the screen? Are you like not supposed to use the screen? Lurdo. Okay. So bored. I'm just so tired of driving. I promise I'm not complaining. Like I'm not complaining. This is really cool. It's just the biology is catching up to me. You know, like my eyes are tired. I'm tired of sitting. Like I wanna go for a walk or something. But this is what you get. This is what you get when you decide to drive, you know, like 15 or 16 hours in 2 days. This is what I asked for. So, here I am. I got some snacks here. This stuff is pretty good. Blue corn tortilla chips with flaxseed. Good stuff, good stuff. Yeah, so just cruising here. That's still what I'm doing. It's so empty out here. It's so incredibly empty. It's crazy how like out here there's like no one, but like in LA, there's just tons of people. Like, it's completely empty out here. Less than 2-hour drive away. It's completely empty. But literally in less than 2 hours, I'm going to be stumbling upon one of the biggest cities in America. You just wouldn't think it. You just wouldn't imagine it. Tired. Yawning feels so good though. If you don't yawn that much, I highly recommend it. It's really fun. There's something invigorating about yawning. I used to have a friend who would get up at like 5 a.m. every day and he would just yawn for like an hour. Like, he would do yoga while yawning for like an hour. And that was like his morning exercise routine. And it worked. It worked for the guy because the dude was like in very good physical shape. He had tons of energy. Like, he probably still does. I haven't seen him in a while, but he was one of my friends in Australia. So I have not been back to Australia in 4 years. So it's kind of far. Australia is a little far, It's pretty far. By the way, if you think that the world is flat, just buy a plane ticket to Australia and then have your friend buy a plane ticket to Australia, but have them go the other way. So like, one person goes over the Atlantic, one person goes over the Pacific. I mean, obviously it depends on where you are. So if you're in America, you can do that. You will start flying in the opposite direction, but you'll end up in the same place. And that'll just prove to you that the Earth is in fact a globe. And it is not flat. Just one thing you can do. Actually, the reason I say that is because when I was going to Australia back in 2017, my friend, who also lived in Boston at the time, was going to New Zealand, and she flew over the Pacific and I flew over Europe and the Middle East, so over the Atlantic. And what do you know, we both ended up in Oceania, even though we flew in opposite directions. So it's kind of a trippy thing about the Earth. Like, if two people walk in the opposite direction, eventually they'll meet each other on the other side. It's kind of cool. Like, it makes perfect sense. Like, from like a metaphysical, like spiritual standpoint, it makes total sense that the Earth is round, that the Earth is a globe. It just wouldn't make sense as much if it was flat. I don't know. At least to me, it just makes more sense that way, I guess. Because the fact that if you walk in the same direction, eventually you'll end up in the same place. That's just such a great metaphor for life. Like, it's so metaphysically and poetically succinct and pleasing. You just walk in the same direction, you'll end up in the same spot. Life is a joke. Life is a beautiful poem. Life is a dream. Alright, I'm gonna turn the AC off or at least down, because it's getting a little chilly. Getting a little chilly. It's getting a little chilly here. Alright, let's see what my energy's doing. I gotta keep track of this because I just don't want to like... So like, this is how fast people drive in California. I'm in the fast lane going 5 miles per hour over the speed limit, and someone is passing me in the right lane. Like, people in California don't fuck around. If you're going slow, they're just like, peace, bro. Whereas people in Oregon were like way more like relaxed on the road. Although, no, that's not true, I guess, because people were pretty tense in Oregon too. Aura projection. Passing Bakersfield. I'm so freaking tired. Part of the reason why I'm making this vlog is just to keep me awake. Because it's just kind of like, it's something to do. You know? It's something to put my energy towards. Not really sure exactly what to say here. I am at the loss for words. I really want to get rich, yo. I know it's like a weird thing to say, but I'm just tired of like being concerned about money. I mean, obviously, like it's all in your head at the end of the day. I mean, I'm not like struggling for money. I don't know. Maybe it's bad. Maybe I should focus on not trying to be rich. This area of California is so iconic, actually, with these giant... I've seen these in movies so much. These giant towers. Yeah, like I just can't seem to like not be ambitious. Like my mind is just so ambitious. Like I have big dreams and I want to achieve them. But sometimes I wonder, like, is that the right way to live, or am I just stressing myself out for no reason? Ooh, that's a clean black Tesla right there. That reminds me, I want to get I want to go to get a car wash. I might just wait till tomorrow though. Yeah, I probably, unless I see one like on the way to my friend's house, I'm probably just gonna get one tomorrow, because I just want to get out of this car as quickly as possible, because I'm very tired of being on the road. I cannot wait to just take a few days of rest and break at my friend's house in LA. Just relax a little bit. I'm hanging out with my friend Hunter. He's a super chill dude. Hanging out with him is always like just super relaxing. So I'm definitely pumped for that. I love, like, my favorite kind of energy is just like chill energy. People that aren't like, you know, bringing the bad vibes. I mean, you know, no offense if that's you, if you're the one that brings the bad vibes, but it's just not the move for me. If you ask me, it's just not the move. I'm all about chillness. I'm all about chilling like a villain. I'm all about trying to stay awake while you're so close to your destination but not quite there. That's what I'm about. I actually did get a really good night's sleep last night though. Alright, I think I'm gonna listen to a podcast, but I'll keep the vlog going. I'll do some like commentary on a podcast. Alright, let's see what we got. What do I want to listen to? let's see who Logan Paul has on. I honestly kind of like Logan Paul. Like, well, I mean, it's kind of weird to say it that way. Like, he seems like a cool guy. Like, he just seems like a normal dude that just happens to be really good at marketing, I guess. But he has a very lively personality. Dan Bilzerian. Let's try it. Dan Bilzerian and Logan Paul. This is gonna be hilarious.
Il y a de la magie chez Aldi. Notre hausse de couette Disney pour 2 personnes à prix Mickey. Et surtout Minnie. Dès ce mercredi chez Aldi, la hausse de couette Disney pour seulement 39,99 €.
Is this a
Offre limitée? Dépêchez-vous.
Is this a French commercial?
Some of us choose to use nicotine to relax, focus, or just unwind after a long day. Lucy Nicotine is a company that was created to help nicotine users find a cleaner option and feel better about the ways they consume nicotine.
Wait, he's promoting nicotine? What the fuck? Why is he promoting nicotine? Out of all the sponsors you can get,
without any tobacco at all.
they must be paying him a shit ton of money.
Use technology for something.
Okay, dude. You know what? Nah. You just lost my attention, bro. You start your podcast off with a nicotine commercial? Seriously? The nicotine industry is probably just paying Logan like hella cash. And the dude, what the fuck, Logan? Dude, like, Logan Paul's fan base is like a ton of kids. And he's just promoting nicotine on his podcast? What the dude? That was a huge turnoff for me. That was not cool, man. Oh, let's see what Leo Gura is up to. What is paradox? Let's try that. Paradox is foundational to the universe. Let's see what he's got.
Paradoxes explain everything. Since they do, they cannot be explained. A quote by Gene Wolfe.
Gene Wolfe.
God. Hi, I'm Infinity. Won't you be my friend? Science. Infinity. Error. Does not compute. What is paradox? A few years ago, I released an episode called The Metaphysical Implications of Girdles and Completeness Theorem, and I promised that was part 1 and there's going to be a part 2. Well, I'm long overdue on part 2, and this episode is, in a sense, part 2, fulfilling on that promise. In this episode, we're going to go deeply into the nature of paradox and how it works and why it exists. This is going to be a profound explanation for the existential reasons behind paradox. If you understand what I'm saying here, you will understand why all paradox exists and why it must exist, and the profound implications this has for science, for epistemology, for understanding what reality is. And this is the kind of information that you will not hear from any scientist or materialist or academic. So we're really expanding and deepening our understanding and appreciation of paradox here. Now, I hope that, like me, you love paradox. From a young age, I've always been fascinated by paradox. I didn't find it ugly, I found it beautiful. To me, paradox is one of the greatest beauties of reality, to explore paradoxes and to see why they exist and why they occur. And if you want a little bit more about that, to get in touch with the beauty of paradox, go watch my other episode called Reality is a Strange Loop, where I introduce the strange loop concept from Douglas Hofstadter, and I illustrate it with many beautiful examples, visual examples. So actually, funnily enough, my love for paradox is ultimately what led me to the realization of absolute truth. It's through paradox that you do this. And it can do this for you too, which is why this episode is not merely purely aesthetic or
I can second that, by the way. Paradox is a gateway to truth, to wisdom. In some sense, it's the only gateway, because everything is at its core paradox. I think paradox scares a lot of people. You know, like I think a lot of people are actually afraid of paradox when they first encounter it. But I think once you really embrace it, and once you get like a really good sense of what it is, I think it actually becomes quite comforting. Like for me now, paradox is like a very comforting thing, because it helps you realize that like no truth is absolute. You know, like every truth is like paradoxical and counterintuitive, and like all truths sort of contradict themselves in this way. To me, it's like a comforting notion, actually. So I just want to second that point.
Philosophical, but actually has practical consequences, because what happens is that if you are serious about pursuing and understanding paradox, and you track all paradoxes down to the very root of what sources them, what you'll discover is that the source is absolute truth, the thing that you've been searching for, the most beautiful thing that you can discover. And so paradoxes are in a sense like glitches in the matrix that point you towards absolute truth. That's why this is practical. Unfortunately, most minds, especially scientific minds, skeptical minds, rational minds, atheistic minds, find paradox threatening. There's a very good reason for why that is, which we will expand upon here. But before we get into all those details, let's start off with the basics. What is paradox? The Oxford Dictionary has the following definition. Quote, a paradox is a statement or proposition that, despite sound reasoning from acceptable premises, leads to a conclusion that seems senseless, logically unacceptable, or self-contradictory. End quote. That is essentially what it is, but we need to explore more deeply why this is the case. Where does paradox really come from? And also we need to explore Western intellectual tradition's history with paradox, how it struggles to deal with paradox, and the fear that exists within Western mainstream intellectual tradition surrounding paradox. There's a deep-seated fear there, and one of the principles, like as a rule of thumb, that you should take with you in all of your investigations of reality is that anytime there's any fear about some portion of reality, whether it's a paradox of some kind, or some sort of scientific truth, or religious truth, or any kind of thing like this, that fear actually is your best clue that something deceptive is going on, and that you should want to look deeper under that fear, because that fear is hiding something from you. And so sure enough, Western intellectual tradition has always feared paradox, and it's actively swept it under the rug. And the reason that is because paradox is very threatening for rationality, for science, for materialism, and for the entire academic game that is being played in universities. So that's an abstract explanation of what's going on, but now let's get very specific about it. Here's the best example that I found to illustrate this point, and this is an example from Douglas Hofstadter's other book called I Am a Strange Loop. So I'm going to read you an extensive quotation. By the way, this episode will have a lot of quotations that I'll be reading. So here we go from Hofstadter. He's going to explain this situation to us with one example. Quote, some years earlier, Russell had been struggling to ground mathematics in the theory of sets, which he was convinced constituted the deepest bedrock of human thought. But just when he thought he was within sight of his goal, he unexpectedly discovered a terrible loophole in set theory. This loophole was based on the notion of the set of all sets that don't contain themselves. A notion that was legitimate in set theory, but that turned out to be deeply self-contradictory. When set theory turned out to allow self-contradictory entities like this, Russell's dream of solidly grounding mathematics came crashing down on him. This trauma instilled in him a terror of theories that permitted loops of self-reference, since he attributed the intellectual devastation he had experienced to loopiness, and to loopiness alone. In trying to recover then, Russell, working with his old mentor and new colleague Whitehead, invented a novel kind of set theory in which a definition of a set could never invoke that set, and moreover, in which a strict linguistic hierarchy was set up, rigidly preventing any sentence from referring to itself. When I read about this theory of types, it struck me as a pathological retreat from common sense, as well as from the fascination of loops. categorically banishing all loops of reference struck me as such a paranoid maneuver that I was disappointed for a lifetime with the once bitten, twice shy mind of Bertrand Russell. What remained with me, however, was the realization that some highly educated and otherwise sensible people are irrationally allergic to the idea of self-reference or of the structures or systems that fold back upon themselves. I suspect that such people's allergy stems in the final analysis from a deep-seated fear of paradox or of the universe exploding metaphorically. End quote.
That is a great quote.
This beautiful passage by Hofstadter just perfectly encapsulates the point that I'm trying to make. And many rationally minded people still don't fathom the significance of what is explained in this passage. There is sort of just the simple literal definition or the literal example here, the literal lesson of this example, which is some nerdy aspect of set theory and mathematics and logic, which to most people you might be wondering, like, Leo, what does this matter? How does this apply to my life? It doesn't matter at all. Yes, that's a very nerdy application of this issue, but what I want you to see is that we need to expand and learn a broader, deeper, more universal lesson here from this one specific instance with the failure of set theory. And this is a lesson that has still not been learned by most scientists, by rationalists, academics, and materialists, because they're still playing this game of believing that they can ground reality into some sort of formal, logical, symbolic system. This is impossible to do. And if you want more about the problems with that, go watch part 1 of this series, which is the metaphysical implications of Girdles and Completeness theorem. I won't rehash all that here. But suffice it to say, basically, in a nutshell, what happened was that historically is that 100 years ago, most mathematicians, logicians, and scientists and rationalists believed that they could actually completely ground all of mathematics within something logical like set theory. And then paradoxes were discovered by Bertrand Russell and by Kurt Gödel and by Alfred Tarski and others that proved once and for all that this is a fool's errand that is impossible to achieve. But rather than actually biting that bullet and learning the lesson of, like, aha, our whole scheme here of trying to formalize and rationalize reality is impossible and that we've been fools for trying to do so, rather than learning that lesson, instead what most scientists and academics did is they said, well, that just means we have to reconfigure our symbolic systems to outlaw the possibility of paradox. And the way that that was done is by forbidding self-reflection or self-reference. And so the whole thing here, the whole key to all of this hinges upon the idea of self-reference. If a system is capable of and allows for self-reflection or self-reference, which I explained in part 1, go watch that for a deeper understanding of what self-reference means and why it's so important, then that system will always ultimately contradict itself and destroy itself or eat itself alive. And of course, this is completely unacceptable to most scientists and logicians and academics. And so what they do is they pull a sleight of hand, which is what Hofstadter is saying happened here with the once bitten, twice shy mind of Bertrand Russell and Whitehead and others like them, is that what they do is they say, okay, how can we reconfigure our logical schemes to outlaw self-reflection by fiat, and by doing so we will prevent paradox and self-contradiction, and then it will seem to us as though we have our formal systems and that our formal systems are perfect and complete. But they're not complete. That's what Gödel showed. They're not complete, and they don't capture all of reality. And in fact, they're missing the most important part of reality, which is the capacity for self-reference. and self-reflection. In other words, self-awareness or consciousness.
All right, I'm just gonna stop the podcast there because, like, I don't know. I feel like I already know. I already know about paradox. Been there. Let's see. What about maybe Lex Fridman? This guy's got some pretty interesting stuff. Oh, Stephen Wolfram. Okay, this guy talks about.
Following is a conversation with Stephen Wolfram.
This I saw a clip on YouTube of this podcast where they were talking about Cardano, and if you know me, then you know that Cardano is my favorite cryptocurrency right now. So definitely kind of interested in Cardano. Let's check it out.
His third time on the podcast. He's a computer scientist, mathematician, theoretical physicist, and the founder of Wolfram Research, a company behind Mathematica, Wolfram Alpha, Wolfram Language, and the new Wolfram Physics project. This conversation is a wild, technical roller coaster ride through topics of complexity, mathematics, physics, computing, and consciousness. I urge you to come along for this wild ride and hold on. Like the title and the lyrics of the beautiful Tom Waits song says, hold on.
I just want to say that, like, I think this is like a message to Leo Gura from actualize.org. I think he's got to start doing like more podcast conversations type stuff, because I've been watching his content for years and I'm starting to get kind of bored of it just because it's always just him talking, you know, and there's no one else to like input their ideas and stuff. I would like to see him in a conversation as opposed to just like doing a monologue. You know, I think it's time for Leo to evolve. That's just my opinion. I mean, you know, obviously he can do what he wants. It's his life. But that's my feeling. I think it's time for Leo to evolve into doing more interactive stuff as opposed to just solo stuff. So anyways, just a little thought there. Let's continue with Lex.
I think this is what this podcast is becoming. A wild ride. Some episodes are about physics, some are about robots, some are about war and power, some are about the human condition and our search for meaning, and some are just what the comedian Tim Dillon calls fun. And now, a quick few seconds summary of the sponsors. Check them out in the description. It's the best way to support this podcast. First is Roca, my favorite sunglasses and prescription.
Alright, no offense to Lex, but I'm gonna skip his ads because I just don't care. I care about the meat, bruh. Give me some of that meat.
Rise. Uphill. Where aren't you
Skipping the ads here.
really the particular cycle of months? I'm also looking at candidates. e.com/UND diversification of investment tools. Audit like Fund Rise.
I'm gonna sip some water one sec.
Almost 20 years ago, you published A New Kind of Science, where you presented a study of complexity and an approach for modeling of complex systems. So, let us return again to the core idea of complexity. What is complexity?
I don't know, I think that's not the most interesting question. It's like, you know, if you ask a biologist, what is life?
Yeah.
That's not the question they care the most about. What I was interested in is, how does something that we would usually identify as complexity arise in nature? And I got interested in that question like 50 years.
Wait, this is starting off pretty weird. Well, he just said that a biologist, the most important question isn't what is life. Isn't biology the study of life? I think what is life is probably a pretty important question. But anyways,
which is really embarrassingly a long time ago. And you know, I was. I
wonder what he would say a biologist would say is like the most important question. If it's not what is life, maybe like how does life function? I guess that makes sense. Like maybe, you know, they care more about functionality than they do about origin or purpose. Whatever. Moving on.
Snowflakes get to have complicated forms. How do galaxies get to have complicated shapes? How do living systems get produced? Things like that. And the question is, what's the sort of underlying scientific basis for those kinds of things? And the thing that I was at first very surprised by, because I've been doing physics and particle physics.
Wait, hold on. I think you just answered my question. I'm gonna rewind.
The shapes. How do living systems today arise in nature? Most interesting question. It's like, if you ask a biologist what is life,
Yeah.
that's not the question they care the most about. What I was interested in is how does something that we would usually identify as complexity arise in nature? And I got interested in that question like 50 years ago, which is really embarrassingly a long time ago. And I was how does snowflakes get to have complicated forms? How do galaxies get to have complicated shapes? How do living systems get produced? Things like that. And the question is, what's the sort of underlying scientific basis for those kinds of things? And the thing that I was at first very surprised by, because I've been doing physics and particle physics and fancy mathematical physics and so on, and it's like, I know all this fancy stuff. I should be able to solve this sort of basic science question. And I couldn't. This was like early, maybe 1980-ish time frame. And it's like, okay, what can one do to understand the sort of basic secret that nature seems to have? It seems like nature, you look around in the natural world, it's full of incredibly complicated forms.
All right, I just gotta stop the podcast again. I'm really confused. Like, what is he even saying? Like, Lex asked him what complexity is, and he's saying that he's been trying to figure out how complexity is created, but hasn't been able to for 20 years. But like, complexity is just created from like different variables clashing into each other, right? Like, the traffic just slowed down a bunch. I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, this podcast this is kind of weird. I'm not sure how I'm feeling about this one. I'll keep listening.
You look at sort of most engineered kinds of things, for instance, they tend to be, we've got sort of circles and lines and things like this. The question is, what secret does nature have that lets it make all this complexity that we, in doing engineering, for example, don't naturally seem to have? And so that was the kind of the thing that I got interested in. And then the question was, could I understand that with things like mathematical physics? Well, it didn't work very well. So then I got to thinking about, okay, is there some other way to try to understand this? And then the question was, if you're going to look at some system in nature, how do you make a model for that system, for what that system does? So, a model is some abstract representation of the system, some formal representation of the system. What is the raw material that you can make that model out of? And so what I realized was, well, actually programs are a really good source of raw material for making models of things. And, in terms of my personal history, to me that seemed really obvious. And the reason it seemed really obvious is that I just spent several years building this big piece of software that was sort of a predecessor to Mathematica and Wolfram Language, a thing called SMP, Symbolic Manipulation Program, which was something that had this idea of starting from just these computational primitives and building up everything one had to build up. And so kind of the notion of, well, let's just try and make models by starting from computational primitives and seeing what we can build up, that seemed like a totally obvious thing to do. In retrospect, it might not have been externally quite so obvious, but it was obvious to me at the time, given the path that I happened to have been on. So, so that got me into this question of, let's use programs to model what happens in nature. And the question then is, well, what kind of programs? And, we're used to programs that you write for some particular purpose, and it's a big long piece of code and it does some specific thing. But what I got interested in was, okay, if you just go out into the sort of computational universe of possible programs, you say, take the simplest program you can imagine, what does it do? And so I started studying these things called cellular automata. Actually, I didn't know at first they were called cellular automata, but I found that out subsequently. But it's just a line of cells, each one is black or white. And it's just some rule that says the color of this cell is determined by the color that it had on the previous step and its two neighbors on the previous step. And I had initially thought that's, sufficiently simple setup is not going to do anything interesting. It's always going to be simple, no complexity, simple rules, simple behavior. Okay, but then I actually ran the computer experiment, which is pretty easy to do. it probably took a few hours originally, and the results were not what I'd expected at all. Now, needless to say, in the way that science actually works, the results that I got, a lot of unexpected things which I thought were really interesting, but the really strongest result, which was already right there in the printouts I made, I didn't really understand for a couple more years. So it was not, the compressed version of the story is you run the experiment and you immediately see what's going on, but I wasn't smart enough to do that, so to speak. But the big thing is, even with very simple rules of that type, sort of the minimal, tiniest program, sort of the one-line program or something, it's possible to get very complicated behavior. My favorite example is this thing called Rule 30, which is a particular...
Alright, this is just so freaking boring. Some people are just like either like too smart for their own good or what. Like, I don't know. I can't tell if this guy's like really smart or if he's just like totally wasting his time. I mean, I'm not trying to judge him. It's just, I don't know. This just doesn't appeal to me at all. But I guess he must find it interesting because he has a lot to say about it. I'm kind of curious what he has to say about Cardano, but like I don't want to. This is a 3.5 hour podcast. I don't want to like search through the whole thing just for something about Cardano. So screw it. See, this is what I mean lately. Like lately, I listen to other people, and it's just like I feel like I'm just more interested in like reality as opposed to consuming stuff. My brain is so full of stuff as it is. I don't really need more. It's so weird, like I feel so smart sometimes and I feel so stupid other times. Like, is it possible for one to be super smart and super stupid at the same time? I guess that's kind of what like Leo was talking about with paradox. I'm trying to get a good shot of the moon, but my camera's just not focusing for some reason. That's the moon up there, but it just can't focus. I don't know why. It's probably just not enough light. I think people like, since my podcast, or not my podcast, since my vlogs are so long, I bet people will probably just like skip around, just find stuff that they are interested in and skip the stuff they're not interested in. I don't know. Why is this not focusing? This is so weird. There we go. Just doesn't know what to focus on. My phone has ADD. So tired. How far away am I? An hour. That guy was extremely aggressive there. That's that California stress. That's that LA stress right there. Dude couldn't wait like 30 seconds. He had to try to pass me while the lane was while the two lanes were merging into one. California stress. LA is such a weird place because it has the California stress, but it also has like the California laid back vibe. I feel like in some ways LA is kind of like it's like a city with an identity crisis in a way. Well, maybe it's just that there's like so many different people. Like there's just so many different vibes in LA, it's crazy. Because it's just so big. So many people. Excuse me. A little burparooski there. Alright, so we're entering like a some sort of civilization. I guess we're only an hour north of LA, so it makes sense that things are starting to get more civilized. I'm honestly surprised that it doesn't get more civilized like sooner. Oh man, I'm so ready to not be driving. So ready. Let's see how I'm just doing. Projected range 125 miles. Cool. Let's look at my instant range. Energy. Instant. Whoa. My instant range is way lower. What the fuck? Why is that? That's really weird. Am I supposed to slow down or something? Now it's going down. Was it because I had the AC on? I don't know. Man, I'm tired. I probably shouldn't vlog anymore. Like, not ever, but like right now. I'm just too tired to do anything interesting. I should probably get in the right lane here, since I am going pretty slow relative to the other traffic. All right, yeah, I'm gonna sign off on this vlog. I'm too tired to like say anything interesting here, and the scenery isn't that interesting because it's just dark now. So yeah, like the video if you made it this far. Comment, subscribe, links below, all that good stuff. Pray for me.